Hi, boys and girls. Today I'd like to share a very special book for you or with you because it's a book that little toddlers might enjoy. It's a book that kindergarten and preschool children might enjoy, and elementary students and even teenagers. So everybody can find something fun and interesting about this book. So let's get started and see what it's all about. Take a look at the cover on the front of this book. And what do you see? Lots of animals, that's right. Do you see some animals that you recognize? Yes, I see a zebra and a leopard. And then are you seeing some animals that maybe you're not sure just what they are? Well, maybe we'll find out inside the book today. But if we look at the book, these animals are holding a book. And the book gives us the title. And the book's going to be called Wild About Books. So this book and this book is going to be all about Wild About Books. And it's written by Judy Sierra, and the illustrator is Mark Brown. And I have to tell you something very special about the author, Judy Sierra. She loves Dr. Seuss. And Dr. Seuss has written books that we all love to read, like The Cat in the Hat and Hop on Top. And so we might find some interesting things in here too about Dr. Seuss. So we're going to be listening for that. So let's open the book. And here's our title and the beginning of our story, Wild About Books. And I want you to take a look here because we see that they're in a city maybe, but I want you to look especially at this truck or this van because it says it's the public library bookmobile. And I'm wondering if you know what a bookmobile is. Most of the time we go to the library that's in our town. But sometimes people don't have a library that's nearby, so a bookmobile might come to their neighborhood and they can get some books and borrow them, just like the library and the bookmobile. So let's see about this, if we can find out a little bit more about a bookmobile. It all started in the summer of 2002. When this Springfield librarian, Molly McGrew, by mistake drove her bookmobile into the zoo. Molly opened the doors and she let down the stairs, turned on the computer, and sat in her chair. So now you can see what a bookmobile looks like when they open the side doors and the back. And there would be lots of books on the shelves inside, just like there would be at a real library. Now, she made a mistake and she went into the zoo, so I'm thinking maybe people could get books at the bookmobile when they're watching the zoo, but I don't see the people. Who do you see looking out all the windows? There are those animals again. My goodness, I'm wondering what they're curious about. At first, all the animals watched from a distance, but Molly could conquer the strongest resistance. By reading aloud from the good Dr. Seuss, she quickly attracted a mink and a moose, a wombat, an onyx, a lemur and lynx, 8 elephant calves, and even a family of skinks. So she's having a wonderful time reading her Dr. Seuss books, and the animals are listening. In a flash, every beast in the zoo was stampeding to learn all about this new something called reading. Oh, they're stampeding? I wonder what that means. But if we look at the pictures, we see that there's all different kinds of animals, and they look like they're in a hurry and going very fast. So when there's a whole big group of them like that, and they're running, we say that they are stampeding. They're making a lot of noise, and they're stampeding because they're excited about reading. And what do you notice when I say stampeding and reading? Those are rhyming words. That's right. Good listening. So here's all the animals stampeding because they're wild about reading, maybe. I don't know. Forsaking their niches, their nests and their nooks, they went wild, simply wild about wonderful books, choosing thin books and fat books and cat in the hat books and new books and true books and heaps of how-to-do books. Look at all the animals getting books. And she's bringing out even more for them. They're excited about those, even baby kangaroo down here. Giraffe wanted tall books, and crickets wanted small books, while ginkgos wanted stick-on-the-wall books. The panda demanded more books in Chinese. Molly filled their requests, always eager to please. She even found waterproof books for the otter. He never went in the water without his Harry Potter. So she found books for everybody. Why do you think the giraffes wanted tall books? That's right, they have very long necks, don't they? Would a cricket be able to get all the way up there and read a tall book? No, he's going to have a very small book. Raccoons read alone, baboons read in bunches, and llamas read dramas while eating their lunches. So bunches and lunches are rhyming words. Hyenas shared jokes with the red-bellied snakes, and they howled and they hissed till their funny bones ached. A tree kangaroo who loved and adored Nancy Drew began solving mysteries right here in the zoo, such as, I wonder why the Bandicoot books are overdue. So where would the bandicoot be? I've not heard of that animal before. These animals are wondering and they're thinking about this bandicoot down here. He's got lots of books that he borrowed from the bookmobile, just like at the library. And here's his book about Nancy Drew. And when you borrow from the bookmobile or the library, you have to take them back. And because other boys and girls like to read them too. So they're overdue, and these animals are wondering about that. Gently, Molly taught lessons in treating books right. For the boa constrictor squeezed Crichter, his book, way too tight. Baby bunnies mucked up their book Goodnight Moon with their dirty little paws, while giant termites ate the pages of their book, The Wizard of Oz. Oh dear, is that how we take care of our books? Even from the library, if we borrow them, we have to take extra good care of them. And at home, we don't want to eat our books or get them dirty. So I'm wondering, but she's helping them learn about how to take care of them. And Bear's love of books was completely outrageous. They licked all the pictures right off their pages. Why do you think they were licking those pictures? Yuck. Well, bears love honey, so maybe these books are about honey. I don't know, but I wouldn't like to be licking them. Tasmanian devils found books so exciting that soon they had given up fighting and decided to do some writing. They made up adventures so thrilling and new that the others decided to become authors too. Pythons wrote with their tails, penguins wrote with their bills, while porcupines wrote with their very own quills. Porcupine has these sharp little quills all over its body, but sometimes they come out just like maybe sometimes you have a little piece of hair that comes out. But a quill is very sharp point, so when they dip it in the ink, they can write with a quill. In the new insect zoo, bugs were scribbling too, in haiku. The scorpion gave each a stinging review. So some of them were writing their very own haiku, and that is a kind of poetry. So maybe we could write a poem too. As the cheetah's new novel began to take shape, he read chapters each night to the Barbary ape. And although the gazelles couldn't spell very well, they, like everyone else, they had stories to tell. Imagine the hippo's enormous surprise when her memoir was given the Zulitzer Prize. With so many new books, Molly knew what to do. She hired 12 beavers, a stork, and a gnu to build a branch library right there at the zoo. Then the animals said, "Why, we can do it ourselves. We can check the books out. We can put them on shelves." And they did, and they do up to this very day. 3 cheers for the Zoo-brary. Hip, hip, hooray. Let's say that together, and we notice there's an exclamation point there. That tells us we need to use our excited voice when we say that. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! So she's excited about the Zoo-brary, just like they are. So when you visit the zoo now, you surely won't mind if the animals seem just a bit hard to find. They're snug in their niches, their nests and their nooks, going wild, simply wild, about wonderful books. Oh my goodness. We heard lots of rhyming words in our stories today. And let's think about this wonderful book. Do you think that this story was fiction or nonfiction? Fiction books are pretend books. What do you think you remember in this story that was pretend? Yeah, animals really can't read books, can they? They really don't write their own stories and poems, do they? Could they build a zoo-brary? No, those are all things that are pretend. But what did you hear in the story that maybe could be real? Oh, there really could be animals that live in a zoo. There really could be a special place for them to be in the trees and their nests and their nooks. So there are some things in our story that are real and some things in our story that are pretend. So most of our book, though, is fiction. And one thing that was very important in our book was that Molly wanted to teach them how to take care of the books. Can you think of a way? Do you remember what she wanted them to do? Maybe wash their hands so that our books don't get dirty before we read them. Would we lick our books or eat them? No. We have to remember that we take good care of our own books and also our books that we borrow from others at the library or even your friends or your books at home. So I was thinking about what might be fun to do with this book, an activity for you. So I got to be thinking about what we're wild about. And what's something else? We could be wild about books, but what else could we be wild about? That means we're going to love it. We're going to just want to do it all the time. Could you be wild about math? Could you be wild about dancing? Or could you be wild about baseball? Sure, lots of things to be wild about. So I decided to get myself some computer paper, and I was thinking what I might be wild about, and I made a picture. I made a little book, and I put my title, Wild About Cooking. Oh, so now you know what I'm liking to be wild about. So I made a picture of me with my chef's hat and my spoon ready to do some cooking. And here's my stove. And after I put that on my story paper, I made a little poem down here because I wanted to have some rhyming words in there like Dr. Seuss did and how the author Judy Sierra did. And so I said, I'm wild about cooking. It is always good looking. I get ready to bake a delicious chocolate cake. And I put an exclamation point at the end because I wanted you to read my excited voice. And here's my illustration of my chocolate cake. So I told you why, I gave you some details, why I'm wild about cooking. Because it looks good, and I can bake, and it's going to be delicious, and it's going to be chocolate. So now you know lots more information. So when you have finished making your paper, here's what I would love for you to do. Now, you could write just your favorite part you're wild about. You could write just a sentence, but give me a detail. But what I'd like you to do when you're finished is turn your paper over. And at the top, write your name, because you are the author of this paper. Not on the front, but on the back. And have mom or dad help you put your phone number. And then maybe mom or dad could make a copy, and you could send it to Read Aloud Delaware, right here in Georgetown, Delaware. Or you can send it to Read Aloud Delaware, because they will send it and we will call you and make a video that shows what you are wild about and what some other boys and girls that are listening to this are wild about. And it will be fun to see all the different things. But there's one thing I want you to remember, boys and girls. And the most important thing is, I am wild about you. And you are very special. So thank you for helping me tell this story.